Hi, you're listening to Book Chat with author Vivian E. Moore.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Hello and welcome to Book Chat. I am your host, Dr. Vivian E. Moore. Hope everyone is having a lovely weekend. I hope you had a good week. I hope you had the opportunity to get outside today, depending on where you are in the world, that you got a chance to get out and enjoy the weather. We had just an awesome day today, sunshine everywhere. I think everyone across the map, across every state here in the United States, experienced quite a bit of this cold snap that we had last week, to where we sort of skipped fall and just went straight to winter. Even people that were in some of the northern and eastern climates that are accustomed to this frigid weather, but for them it was like a surprise as well, because they were sort of looking forward to fall before they actually got into winter. The temperatures that we were having were sort of like temperatures that you would have in late December or early January. So I hope that we're not in for more of that, because I really do want to experience fall, have some of those nice warm days. Not too warm, but still, in the 60s, because that's normal, where you can get out with a jacket. You don't have to wear a heavy coat or anything like that. And then too, you don't have to get up in the morning time and, have to scrape frost off your car because it's fall. And, you don't have those nights that are like below freezing, depending on where you are. But I think some states set a record. I think one state was actually colder than it was in Alaska, and I'm like, wow, that's saying something right there. But anyway, moving away from the weather, let's get on to today's show. The title of today's show is Losers Quit, and the topic is Committed to Goals. So no one likes the L word, and I'm talking about losing, or anything that's associated with losing. We're all familiar with the phrase quitters never win and winners never quit. Well, it might sound like a cliche, but it's true. In fact, it lets the world know what you're made of. And that's saying a lot. That's a tell. If you can't complete what you start, and if you would rather take an L rather than a W, then that is saying a lot about you. So how committed are you to your goals? Do you give up when things get too hard, or do you persevere? Okay, so everyone has a limit. They get to the point where they want to give up, but with an extra boost of effort, they keep going until they cross the finish line. How many races have you ever watched, especially on television? Maybe the Olympics, or I don't know if they still have sports on like they used to. When I was a kid, we used to have the Wide World of Sports. They used to come on Saturdays, right after we watched Soul Train or American Bandstand on Saturdays. We would have the Wide World of Sports. And so they would have some Saturdays, they would have like the gymnastics, and then some Saturdays they would have like the track and things like that, or depending on what time of the year it was. In the wintertime, they would have like the skaters, they would do that, or the ones doing the bobsledding. But one of my favorites was watching the runners, the one that did the relays and the dashes and things like that. So, I think one of the most images that stands out in my mind is I think it was one of those relay races, and you had one runner that he dropped the baton. And so, of course, you lose time when you have to stop and go back and get it, but you have to have that baton. So that's what he did. And so, of course, it put him like a couple of legs behind the other racers that were already ahead of him. But I think the most exciting moment of that race was when that runner who dropped that baton, it's like he just cut the time off. He cut the distance off by just running. He didn't stop. He was committed, to winning. And so he just kept going and kept going. He passed one of the racers, and then he passed another one of the racers, and then he passed another one of the racers until he crossed the finish line. And I mean, it was like a close race, but you could tell, when they did the rewind of the race to show who actually did win, he won by a head. Literally by a head, and so, and that's what you have to do. It doesn't matter if you think you're going to lose, or if no matter where you are within the race, you have to keep going, and just just stay the course until you've actually won. But still, that's what we have to do in life, no matter what it is. No matter what what we're doing, we have to be committed to our goals. Once you set those goals, you have to see them all the way through the end if you're serious about it. Now, sometimes I do believe that we can set the bar too high. It's so far beyond any reachable expectations. And I mean, what's the point of trying when you are bound to fail anyway? When you set unrealistic goals for yourself, you're setting yourself up to, for failure. But what you should do is make realistic goals, not too easy or hard, but just enough to make the journey simpler, make the journey winnable. I've in my experience with my children when they were growing up, and I had expectations for them, and I'm sure they had expectations for themselves as well. But I wanted to see them, through their journey. I wanted to see them reach the goals that I set for them. And I also wanted them to set goals for themselves, but I wanted them to make sure that it wasn't too much for them to accomplish. If they started it, I wanted them to be able to complete it, to go all the way to the end, to complete that journey. And that, I think that's one of the greatest memories that I have, is seeing my children complete the goals that I had for them, the desires that I had for them, whether they were voiced or not. They were there. They were always there. And to see them finish, to see them, start from the beginning, they had some hurdles in the middle, but by God, by the end of that race, they won. They completed it. So that's a great feeling when you actually complete something that you start. I don't know a lot of people, and I'm sure there are a few that's gone down in history for losing. I wouldn't want to be famous for that. I really wouldn't. I would rather be famous for doing something that was commendable, And I'm not saying that losing is a bad thing, because, everybody can't win. They're not always winners in anything that you do. But all I'm saying is, don't quit. Because losers quit. They don't lose because they gave a good fight. They finished, but they still lost. Losers quit because they give up. They don't try to complete the goal. It's like, okay, well, fine, whatever, I quit. I don't care if I lose or not. And you can't have that type of mentality. You can't have that kind of outlook on life, because you'll never get anywhere if you do. Even when your plans are not working out, don't quit, but refocus. Take a moment to figure out what you're doing wrong, make the adjustment, and keep going, because life is filled with trials that we face daily. But, as I've said many times, use them as hurdles and take the leap that will push you closer to your goals. Too many times in life, we all attempted to quit for one reason or another. No matter the case, you must keep moving and striving until you reach the mark, because anything worth having is worth the effort that it takes to accomplish the task. And I've learned that, and I live by that. That is one of my standards. That is like a daily reminder to me that, my eye is set on the prize. And there are days when I want to quit too, when I want to say, it's just too much. I can't do this anymore. Or you get disappointed, and that will happen, but think of it as only a setback. It's not over until it's over. It's just a setback, something that you can regain again from. You can pick that momentum that you need to get back in the race, and to get past whatever hurdle that was that stopped you. It'll help you get through it, and always remember that hurdles are not there to stop you. They slow you down. That's what they're there for. But two, hurdles are there to keep you going, to keep you moving, to keep you focused. Because as long as those hurdles are there, you have to be prepared. You've got to get past this one, because there'll be another one, not too far down the line, and you got to get past that one. And you got to keep jumping these hurdles until you get all the way to the finish line. And once you get to that finish line and you cross it, you can look back and you can see all those hurdles that were in your path, but they didn't stop you. They may have slowed you down a little bit, but they didn't stop you. They didn't keep you from accomplishing that goal. They didn't stop you from reaching your goal, from doing what you had set mentally, what you had started physically. You were able to maintain, you were able to finish. And that's what I'm talking about today. Not quitting because you would rather take a loss than a win, but being committed to what you do. And that's everything across the board. Sometimes we don't equate what we do in our everyday life to things that we do, on a personal level. But my view on this is that if you adopt certain behavior, then that behavior is what you do, no matter what it is. Whether it's negative or positive. If you're in the habit of half-stepping, no matter what it is, even if it's a home project, it's like, well, I'm not going to put my 100% into this because it's just a home project. That's the wrong attitude to have. You need to give everything you do, give it your best. Be your best at it if you can. Even if your best is 90%, you gave everything that you had. And that's all I'm saying is, you didn't quit, just because you were at 90% and that's the best you could do. But still,